Thank you, and thank you. Hello everybody, and welcome to this very special episode of the Unlock podcast with me, Ricky Lock, the podcast that is using joy and enthusiasm to inspire others to be the best version of themselves and to create magical experiences. This is a very special one-off episode where I'm basically just going to give back to all you lovely supporters who listen to this podcast. It's not often that we get to write episodes where we can just thank our listeners and thank everyone that's just reviewed the podcast, and of course all of the lovely Patron supporters. So that's basically what this episode is. I'm going to be shouting out to all the amazing people that have actually just recently reviewed the podcast, or if you're a fellow patron of the podcast, or even if you've just sent some lovely words as well. I'm going to try and get you all into this podcast and name drop you because you are all wonderful people. I'll also reveal a bit of information as well if it's interesting to anyone about how the podcast is doing. And we'll go from there. Completely unscripted this episode, which might show. Not like every other episode, of course. Yes, every other episode is very professional. But anyway, a big shout out to all the reviews that have come in. We're in season 3 and I've received about 6 or 7 reviews recently, which is lovely. So big shout out to Mark Lee for your wonderful recent review. Really appreciate that, buddy. Mark is a very, very great magician and member of the Professional Speaking Association as well. And I'm not sure if he remembers this, but Mark was one of the very first people I ever met at the Magic Circle. Yep, great first impression, very nervous, and I was there, it was like my second time there, and he made me feel extremely welcome, invited me over to sit with him, and I got to know him, and he was lovely. So Mark, I'm not sure if you remember that, but I will never forget that. So Mark, thank you very much for making me feel welcome. The next one is Joel Yentis, a great guy I used to work with in Argos, and awesome dude as well. Joel, thank you so much. I missed those training sessions together. They were absolutely brilliant days, but I hope you're well as well. Good old Michelle Lloyd. So Michelle, thank you very much for giving me your review as well. Now Michelle is an absolutely awesome human being as well. I only met Michelle back in October at the Confident Club with Stephen Curley, and it was an amazing time. And she is just an amazing individual. She has a great podcast as well called Your Art Matters, and it's a fantastic podcast because very similar to me. She now lives her passion, which is absolutely amazing. And Michelle, if you are listening to this, I will get you onto the podcast. I promise. We'll do that as soon as I can when baby is here. Or, well, after baby is here. But Michelle, you are a wonderful, wonderful human being. Thank you so much for your lovely review as well. Then I have, going back a little bit, it's a couple of months ago now, but I don't think I never name dropped her. So Laura Robinson, lovely for your review as well, who's an awesome designer and has a really, really cool Instagram channel called Vows Designs. So yeah, Laura, thank you so much for your lovely review. I've not seen you in a while, obviously with the guys at Yellow Tuxedo, but I hope you're well, and I'm loving all the content that you're doing as well. Good old Tracy Fretwell as well. You gave me a wonderful, wonderful review. I'm going back now a couple of months ago, but still, I'm going to just read all these out, shall I? Yeah, Madeline Black as well. Thank you so much for your review. Nilesh, Chad Elvis, alternatively named as our second podcast, the Three Men and Podcast, Mr. Alan Braithwaite. As always, mate, it's always a pleasure. Good old Amy Rowlinson as well, who also has an amazing podcast as well, who I met at the Professional Speaking Association. You can see where this is all going, can't you? Where a lot of these people that I've met. But Amy has another great podcast as well about the power of why. Really go check it out. Amy's a wonderful person as well. Daniel Pettit, my good old bloody friend from school and from Argos. I love you, buddy. Thank you so much for your wonderful review. And then I'm just going to read these out because otherwise I'm going to be here all day. But Seamus 1969, Emma Kirby Kid, User Friendly 666, who I think was Chris Mooney if I remember right. So Chris, love you, buddy, too. Moonbeam 1980, Jules Turner, great guy who's on a mission at the minute to help people understand about burnout, which is a really, really important subject and something that I actually got this year. I got a little bit burnout as well. New Vision Thinking, thank you to you. Moonbeam 1980, I think that's twice now, so thank you for 2 reviews. Good old Jasmine Barnes, my sister-in-law to be. Love Jazz to bits. She is an amazing, amazing designer and actually designed one of the very first logos that I used in my business. So yeah, thank you very much. Good old Dickie82, I think that's Andrew, so you're a star. Thank you, buddy. Chantel as well, you've given me a lovely review as well. CKC89, I can't remember who that is, I don't know if that's Craig or someone else. Can I remember that one? Yeah, it's weird. Apple Podcast doesn't actually give you the proper names. But Sean1812, I think that was Sean Harrison. Thanks, buddy. Long time no see. Hope you're well. Good old Danielle Barnes, my lovely fiance, and mother-to-be of my first daughter. Oh, exciting. And Heather as well. Oh, Heather, yeah, great. Heather JMT. Heather, I won't obviously reveal your surname because you might not want me to say it. I don't know. But Heather is a lovely person who has a similar background with me and kind of did the same thing in Sainsbury's. And she's also a lovely client of mine as well, who I performed at their wedding earlier on this year. So Heather, thank you so much for your review. And last but not least, I think you'll love this that it's last actually. This was in no order, but good old Paulie Dams, Mr. Paul Dams, one of my best friends in the entire world. He is an amazing guy, amazing individual. He'll hate me for saying this, but I always describe that he is like Ricky Gervais, who I think he'll like that. Yeah, he's an absolutely amazing human being. I love him so much, and he gave me one of the very first reviews of this podcast. So Paul, you are a legend, you know that, and hopefully we can play some Riders Republic at some point when I'm free. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, there you go. Look, guys, thank you so much for all of these reviews. The podcast is growing and growing, which is absolutely brilliant. I have done a podcast recently called The Lurkers, which is coming out soon, which is about consistency, not getting hung up on the numbers, but I am going to share a couple of numbers with you anyway, because by the time this recording goes out, we've just hit about 5,000 all-time downloads, which is really, really cool, because I'm not even at 50 episodes yet. I'm only at about, I think it's like 41, which is really good. So the podcast is getting listened to around the world. It constantly appears up and down in the self-improvement charts and the self-help charts as well. And that's all to you guys, really. I can't really say anything else other than that, because this podcast would not be the podcast that it is without you listening and reviewing. I know reviews can only take it takes 1 second to press the 5-star, but then it takes a good couple of minutes to write out your review. So for anyone that has done a review, and all of the names that I've mentioned so far, really, really am grateful for you taking the time to do that, because we're all lazy people. We don't like doing that. We're a bit of lurkers. We just scroll in the feed, don't we? So for someone to actually take the time to stop and go through it, that really does mean a lot to me. So thank you for your continued support. And lastly, I guess as the podcast has grown and grown, this podcast is in the top 5% in the world. Yeah, which sounds really cool. It is, and then I'll go through the metrics of it. So basically, a global rank of 5% on Listen Notes, it basically is that this podcast is one of the top 5% most popular shows, here we go, out of 2,722,535 podcasts globally ranked by Listen Score. Now, I'm not complaining there. That's pretty cool. 5%? Yeah, that's pretty cool. But look, again, this wouldn't be without you for helping to support this podcast, helping to review this podcast, and just making this the lovely journey that it's been. I mean, it's just over a year old, launched this in September. I would not be able to do this without all of your support. And of course, I can't finish the episode without the amazing Patreon support. Anthony Howe, Sherry Brenton, Steve McDermott, and Rory Barnes, who you may know who Rory Barnes is. If you know me personally, you'll know who Rory Barnes is. But yeah, the patrons, thank you so much. Obviously, this podcast, it's free to listen to, but it costs money to run. And that's why I set up the Patreon for as little as £1 or £3 or £5 if you really want to get some exclusive content and backstage training that I'm going to be doing. It's a wonderful thing. And, I wouldn't be in this position without all of the support from all the listeners, the reviewers, and obviously the Patreon. You really are helping this journey grow and grow to be an international speaker, to be a TED talker, to inspire people to create magic moments, whether it's in my business with the magic or even on stage. This is going to help support me get to, where I want to be. So look, all I can say is thank you, thank you, thank you. You really are wonderful people, and I truly appreciate you supporting this podcast. So thank you for listening to this podcast. Keep supporting me and keep listening, keep telling me what you like and what you don't like. And let's just keep being awesome and keep unlocking the best version of ourselves, and then just create these magical experiences. Thank you, as always, for your continued support. Take care, and I'll see you soon on the next episode of Unlocked. Goodbye.